Hello, my loves, and welcome back to Along This Spiritual Journey. So, we all hear about the provider. We keep hearing people talk about provider in dating and what that means and what that represents. But it's working with one half of the formula and then not realizing when you try to get results, it's not working. When you are seeking a provider, you need to be a nurturer. That's the exchange. That's the big thing that everyone's looking for. I keep seeing men and women go back and forth of, well, if a man's a provider and this is how a man provides and he needs to give all the money and give all this stuff, that's fine. If the exchange is you understanding what a real nurturer is, because a nurturer is someone who understands they're meant to hold space regardless of the situation, regardless of how you're feeling. A nurturer, a true nurturer, will always find a way to make space for someone else. So if you're going into a situationship or relationship thinking that you can only get a provider, but you're not a nurturer, then you're going to always clash. What's happening in the dating world is you have women who are in their masculine energy, which is beautiful, but then you have men who are in their provider energy. A provider and a masculine will not match because masculine energy will always push away the provider's natural instinct to want to give, to want to take care of, to want to protect, because they see you as something that's important to them that they want to cherish. So that is the exchange of a true provider. Remember, these are entities and energies. A provider and a nurturer are archetypes. They represent energies that just are, just as above, so below. There are just people who are simply the polaristic sides of I am a provider to the detriment of me, I'm a nurturer to the detriment of me. And then you have everyone in between, which is the transactional love that people want, which is a sugar daddy and a baby or a sugar mama and a baby, right? People keep mixing those two up and they don't belong together. So, in the dating world, yes, you can have transactional love where you have all this money, power, status, size, false masculinity because it's a persona. If you're trying to look hard, looking hard is not hard, being hard, when you're energetically like, nothing can break me, regardless of how I look, that's true masculinity. Same for femininity. It doesn't matter how pretty, how dial up, and how slim, and how skinny, and how flexible or how simple you seem, you can break, because for some reason people think femininity means flimsy, like it can break at any moment. No, femininity can hold everything. It can hold the pain, it can hold the love, it knows how to take hate and make it love, and vice versa, which is why life and death is necessary of every plant, right? This is how we get new seeds and get new seasons and we keep bearing fruit, because the real nurturing energy is resilient. So it doesn't fall apart and it's broken wrist and it doesn't know how to do for itself. So this is where the confusion keeps coming in with this conversation. If you want to play feeble to an energy that wants to dominate, then that is the personification of the dominatrix world, where you want to feel the power. That's a power thing. That's not a relationship. That's not a real connection. In a relationship and connection, you understand that there's power dynamics, which is how you learn each other's fetishes and you learn how to have sensuality and play with each other. But that's not your identity. That's where people keep getting lost. A provider is someone who literally wakes up every day and wants to give to something. They want to give life to something. They want to see something flourish. They love seeing this thing blossom over and over and keep just being in its beautiful state because they love the beauty of this thing. And they know on some level that there is power, that because they're feeding it good love, it's growing healthy. Yes, that is a power dynamic, but in a healthy mindset, it's used right. If it's a distorted mindset, it's going to be distorted into control. The same thing with being in the feminine energy. If you understand that you're a true nurturer, no matter what that energy of masculine is going through, you will support it because they will always protect you. Their whole sole duty as a real provider is to always make sure you're taken care of, regardless of their how they feel, which is the duality, and then becomes the whole of them if you're a true nurturer, because regardless of what they're going through and what they say they don't need, when they really need you, you show up. That's what a provider wants. If they don't want to provide everything to you, and when they fall apart for 1 second because they're going to need a break sometime, that you don't fall apart. Because if you fall apart and they can't take a break, then they're always going to feel like they got to give to you, and they don't know why. You don't understand how to protect them in a way that they need protecting, which is nurturing. Protection energy is the same for provider and for nurturer. That's what connects them. It's a protection of that union. It's a protection of each other. So when you can pay attention to the signs and synchronicities and the things we talk about with soul connections and physical connections and twin flame and all these terms that get thrown out, we need to understand what they really mean, because there's a deeper world to all of this. So if you are a provider, understand there's going to be energies that will be distorted and try to use you for the strength that you are. It is your job as a provider to remain in your discipline and not get lost in all the sauce and want to give to everything that's giving you attention. That's the job as the provider. As the nurturer, it is your job to hold down the fort, to make sure that everything is always taken care of in the best way possible, so that when your provider comes, they can relax and they don't have to worry. Just like in that moment of you sitting and all that love and protection that they created through their provision, that you are protected and taken care of in the way that you want, because you're free to be who you need to be. So yes, this is where the idea of domestic chores got thrown into relationships, because it's like, I go out and do this physical hard thing on my body that I physically don't want to do, and I emotionally have to still do it, and I physically have to convince myself to do it. And then the person at home is like, okay, well, I can at least do the things that we all need for our basis of being a human, which is feeding me, clothing me, keeping me warm, making me feel safe, making me feel loved. So if the house is clean and there's food and all these other things, that's where a person who is outside the house in the field coming back home, they get to be in their feminine now. They get to feel soft again, because that's what the human is, soft. Just like if the feminine goes out into the masculine world, they understand, like, okay, I might not understand this, but I have a protector or provider who understands and will step in for me if I need them. Every human being should know how to do this for themselves. But when you come into a relationship, there's going to be energy play, and you have to know how to play with the energy, because if you don't, then you're going to end up in toxic relationships. You're going to end up in a toxic cycle. You're going to end up in situations where, yes, you might be in the right in every relationship, but if your energy is distorted or off, living in the past or childhood conditioning, then you're going to keep repeating with the same partners and being like, it's not me, it's them. No, it's you as well. If you're not respecting that your energy body and your physical body have to align, so that you can then be either the provider or the nurturer as a baseline always. And then when you meet someone, you can play with your feminine and masculine energies and how that looks and is interpreted in this physical world. And that's the game of seduction. You get it? I really hope that made sense. I love you. Take care. Mwah.